From the dramatic last-minute goal to a superstar scoring top bins on the beach, these are the 20 most viral moments in football history. Let's kick off with number 20. The Sue celebration has become a global phenomenon. Not only among professional players, but also failed footballers like myself. And it's all thanks to Cristiano Ronaldo, who invented it against Chelsea in a pre-season game back in 2013. So when you hit the Sue celebration next, make sure you pay homage to Ronaldo. Speaking about celebrations, we have Vincent Aboubakar, who found himself in a strange situation at the 2023 World Cup. The Cameroon striker was on cloud 9 after scoring in the 92nd minute against Brazil, the greatest national team in the history of football. So he rips off his shirt in celebration and gets a second yellow card. Talk about a roller coaster of emotions, but hey, at least he went out like a boss, shaking hands with the ref on the way out. Did I mention that? Courtesy of his crazy goal and a red card in this game, Aboubakar became the second player to score and be sent off in a World Cup match since 2006. Number 18. Well, the only other man to achieve this record is none other than the legendary Zinedine Zidane. Playing in his last game as a professional footballer, Zizou was looking to sign out with a bang. And it looked like he was doing just that until he decided to go head-to-head with Marco Materazzi, literally. Rumours have it that Materazzi made a bad joke about Zidane's sister. Hopefully you don't make the same mistake when you next play with your buddies, because you might end up with a bald head planted on your chest. Moving on to number 17. Remember when David Beckham could bend it like nobody's business? Well, in the twilight of his career, a soda company hired him to bend the ball into not one, not two, but 3 garbage cans from over 40 yards out. And it seemed like an impossible task, but guess what? Beckham aced it like it was nothing. Now that's what you call top bin strikes. I bet even greats like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo would be jealous of that accuracy. And speaking of Ronaldo, at number 16, remember the time he went incognito on the streets of Madrid? Almost everyone ignored him, except for a few people, including this little boy who thought he was having a kick around with a homeless man, only to find out it was his idol. And when he realised who he was playing with, pure shock and awe. It's moments like these that make football magical, right, Mbappe? At number 15, when Mbappe's teammates gave him a surprise present, he knew something was up, and boy was he right. A ninja turtle mask? Seriously? Talk about the ultimate prank. At number 14, against all odds, South Africa takes the lead, sending the entire African continent into a frenzy. But you know, in Africa, every iconic goal is met with an even more iconic celebration. Well, Zabalala and his compatriots made sure of that. Now that's how you mark a historic moment. At number 13, but just before we move on from the 2010 World Cup, there's one more thing we need to discuss. I mean, there's absolutely no way we're talking about that tournament without mentioning how Luis Suarez denied Ghana and the entire African continent a place in the semi-finals. And then, to rub salt in the wound, he celebrates like he's just won the lottery. Ouch. Oh man, that has to hurt really bad if you're a Ghanaian. But if you ask me, nothing hurts more than being undone twice in a single game by the same player. Number 12. See, at the 1986 World Cup, England was faced with the difficult task of stopping Diego Maradona. Well, they already knew it was impossible, but they had to try anyway. The first half ended goalless, and the English defenders were beginning to feel themselves. Well, that was until the 52nd minute when Maradona punched the ball into the net. And just 3 minutes later, while England were still fuming about the controversial goal, the diminutive maestro stepped up and did something even more ridiculous. It's absolute madness, but certainly not as insane as what you're about to watch at number 11. So, back in 2015, Bayern Munich found themselves trailing 1-0 to Wolfsburg. The team looked to be heading to defeat until Robert Lewandowski came off the bench at half-time. The Polish striker scored not 1, not 2, but 5 goals in just 9 minutes. The crowd's jaws are on the floor, his manager can't believe it, and even the commentator is lost for words. I know, you might be thinking this is as crazy as it gets, but trust me, it's not even as close to what we've got at number 10. Go! In 2014, Brazil spent around 14 billion to host the World Cup. And with the calibre of players they had, the Samba Boys were the favourites to win the tournament. Well, that was until they met Germany in the semi-finals. The game had barely even started when Thomas Muller opened the scoring, and from then on the floodgate was opened. By half-time, the German machines were mauling the hosts by 5 goals to 0. The Brazilian fans were left in tears and their hopes of winning a record 6 World Cup tournament were being crushed on their own soil. But little did they know that these wicked Germans were not done yet. Germany scored 2 more goals in the second half before Oscar scored a consolation goal to make it 7-1. Getting beat by that sort of margin is never a good thing. But the Brazilians would argue that they were missing some of their stars. On the other hand, this sounds tenable, but Portuguese fans could argue that they were in a similar situation at the 2016 Euro finals against France, yet they managed to keep things under control. Number 9. In fact, unlike the Brazilians, Portugal didn't have home advantage. To make things worse, they were playing the host team, France, in the final, with their talisman, Cristiano Ronaldo, getting injured in the 25th minute of the game. It was the worst possible scenario that they could have hoped for. But what Portugal lost on the field, they gained on the sidelines. Having been excused from the game due to a knee injury, Ronaldo transformed into a coach. And ultimately, it paid off as Portugal went on to win the game 1-0, and Ronaldo got to lift his first trophy with the national team. Come on! That is the celebration of a man who is fulfilled. Number 8. Rivalries in football are a big deal, which explains why supporters are always at odds with players of their rival teams. But on the 19th of November 2005, Real Madrid fans couldn't help but applaud Ronaldinho after watching the Brazilians school their team. Now, that's something you don't see every day. Number 7. Nowadays, Jose Mourinho and Arsene Wenger are pals, but it wasn't long ago that both men were at the centre of one of the most toxic rivalries in football. While their players traded tackles on the field, these two heavyweight coaches exchanged words many times in press rooms. But the height of it was in 2014. Mourinho ignored his home training and went hard on his respected colleague.
You know, he is a specialist in failure.
Now that's what you call a low blow. You can't really blame Mourinho, can you? For all the good works he did at Arsenal, Wenger had a really long trophy drought and oversaw some embarrassing results, which explains why Mourinho called him a Number 6. One of them was the thrilling encounter against Newcastle in 2011. The Gunners, under the tutelage of Le Professeur, got their noses in front within the first 40 seconds of the game. And then, boom, they added 3 more goals, making it 4-0 by minute 26. Newcastle fans are thinking, time to hit the exits. But hold up, in football, it's never over until the fat lady sings. Right? Well, At the turn of the half, Newcastle became a completely different team. They scored 3 goals to reduce the deficit to 4-3, and with 3 minutes left on the clock, Cheick Tiote struck a rocket from outside the box to make it 4-4. The fans went berserk, and so did the players and the manager. Unfortunately, Cheick Tiote has since become an angel, but I'm pretty sure he's always watching the replay of this crazy game from up there, more like the same way Manchester City fans always find an excuse to replay the footage you're about to see at number 5. After an intense season-long title challenge between Manchester United and Manchester City, both teams were tied for points going into the last game of the season. City, however, had the better goal difference. So, to win the title, all they needed to do was to match the results of their rivals. But, as they would come to find out on May the 13th, 2012, that objective was easier said than done. With 5 minutes of additional time left on the clock, City found themselves trailing to QPR. But in the final moments, Aguero does the unthinkable.
I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again.
Well, so we thought until September 2023, when Arsenal and Man United produced a spectacle. Number 4. Normally, every game between these two sides is always intense, but this game was on another level. Both teams got on the score sheet within the first 5 minutes. From then on, the game went quiet until the 59th minute when Arsenal won a penalty, only for VAR to interrupt their celebrations. As the game wore on, Alejandro Garnacho thought he'd won the game for United after scoring in the 88th minute, but VAR was on hand once again to curtail the celebrations. And just when we thought the game was going to end in a stalemate, Arsenal flipped the script, scoring 2 late goals. Talk about snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. Number 3. If there's anyone who knows a thing or two about victories in football, it's Sir Alex Ferguson, regarded as the greatest British manager of all time. He turned the fortunes of Manchester United around, but after years of achieving unprecedented glory with the club, Ferguson decided it was time to bow out. What followed next was truly remarkable. Tears, cheers, and a farewell fit for a king. Can you imagine a more emotional send-off? Well, I don't think so. Number 2. When Lionel Messi arrived in Qatar for the 2022 World Cup, he knew it would probably be his chance to win the one trophy that has eluded him throughout his illustrious career. Unfortunately for the Argentine, his team started the tournament with a loss, but in a remarkable turnaround, they made it to the final and eventually won the cup against France, the GOAT lifting the ultimate prize in possibly his last World Cup appearance. Now, that's the stuff of legends. At number 1, in football, it is often said that a team is more prone to conceding after scoring a goal. Empirical evidence has shown that this is true. But what if I told you that you are even more likely to concede when you make unsuccessful attempts at your opponent's goalpost? Well, check this out. In May 2013, Leicester and Watford face off in the second leg of a dramatic playoff game. Tied 2-2 on aggregate, but as the game drew to a close, referee Michael Oliver controversially awarded a penalty to Leicester. This would be the beginning of a crazy 19 seconds that completely turned the game and the tie on its head. Goalkeeper Manuel Elmuni saved the penalty and the subsequent rebound. Then, in the blink of an eye, Watford turned defence into attack and they scored.
Do not scratch your eyes. You are really seeing the most extraordinary finish here. It almost mirrors the final day.
This was pure football insanity, and I dare say we'd never see anything like that again. Or maybe we will, because in football you can never tell. But here's what you can tell. We'll always be here to bring you more exciting videos like this one, so do well and like and subscribe to our channel so you don't get to miss out on anything.